This right here is Mikko Rantanen, who this past season was involved in a massive blockbuster trade. The Colorado Avalanche being unable to come to terms with an extension, feeling the pressure of the upcoming Cale Makar contract, would proceed to panic flip him to the Carolina Hurricanes in return for Martin Necas. A strategic move that put Rantanen as far away as they possibly could from their division. Yeah, they might have been able to find a better return, allowing more teams within the West to trade for him, but then you invite the inevitable situation where a player who feels betrayed matches up against you in the playoffs. And then it would happen. The Carolina Hurricanes were also not able to sign him, where they too felt the pressure to make a panic move to get assets in return. And what do you know? Mikko Rantanen not only ended up back in the West. No, he would end up in the same division as the Colorado Avalanche.
And Game 7 is underway.
With 15 seconds left in the game, the Colorado Avalanche would find themselves down a goal in Game 7. Not only did they only have 15 seconds to tie the game and send this thing to overtime, but they had just let go of a third period lead.
Rantanen all kinds of room! He scores! Mikko Rantanen again! Rantanen scores!
We're off the face-off. We can see Rantanen slowly inching forward, as he knows that Necas is probably going to jump the draw, but he doesn't care. He knows that the Avs' best bet is to get the puck back to Makar to create a play. Why? Because he was a part of this exact play just months prior, where he instantly attacks the point off the face-off, disrupting any opportunity of a clean face-off win. Not only did he disrupt the play, but by using his body, he would manhandle Makar out of the defensive zone, and
Free puck, Lindell didn't get good one on it, but Sagan got it out. Rantanen again! Unbelievable!
Mikko Rantanen in a Game 7 against his former team would not only score the game-winning goal, but he would put the icing on the cake with a Game 7 hat-trick. Because as I mentioned before, when teams do decide for whatever reason to trade away that star player, they will go to any means possible to trade that player out of the conference, even if it means taking a lesser return. Why, you ask? So they can avoid a player full of vengeance lighting them up in the playoffs? And when you consider the new changes to the salary cap, and the fact that we've already seen a big uptick in franchise players being traded, this factor is only going to become more prominent in the upcoming years, as this right here highlights a fascinating side of sports psychology, as there are so many external factors that can essentially lead to a player going super sane in a game. Think about a player like Brandon Montour. On October 29th, 2024, his wife would go into labor, but he had a game in Montreal where he almost missed the birth. But in this game, the man went to another level. As a defenseman, he would score his first career hat-trick and add an assist for a 4-point performance.
Pointed out a 4-on-3, McCann, one-timer Montour, scores! The hat-trick for Brandon Montour!
Just this past week, you would hear about the unfortunate and tragic passing of his brother, where Montour in a game against Montreal would go out and score 2 goals and added an assist.
Really has. Montour, they score! A tip out in front! Brandon Montour!
As this extra boost of confidence and or adrenaline can allow players to raise their game to another level. It's absolutely fascinating, which made me think, yeah, it makes sense from face value, but when a star player does leave his team, only to match up against them on the other side, does it actually result in an increase in production? And today's video is sponsored by SeatGeek. With over 35 million downloads, there is a reason why SeatGeek is the #1 rated ticketing app. And with the start of the 25-26 NHL season, do yourself a favor and treat yourself to seeing your favorite team up close and personal. I've seen a guy like McDavid flying up and down the ice is 100 times more impressive in person. So whether you want to see Ovechkin and Crosby's last dances, the future superstars around the league, or maybe you want to catch an MLB playoff game, SeatGeek is your answer. As I'm always scoping out some Oilers tickets, and I can sit just a couple rows back at the home bench for just over $200, but maybe I want a budget option. Get a little rowdy, get some drinks with the fellas. For just $50, I get to see one of the greatest players in NHL history in person. But here's the best part. If you click the link down below, download the SeatGeek app today and use code RobTalksHockey10, you'll receive 10% off your tickets. That's code RobTalksHockey10 for 10% off your tickets. On this graphic, we have a summary of star players' performances when facing off against their old team, relative to the career averages. Was the Mikko Rantanen Game 7 hat-trick against the team who shipped him away just a coincidence? Or does this theory have some merit here? So we're talking about Panarin being shockingly traded from Chicago, the Jack Eichel blockbuster, Toronto randomly shipping away Kadri for Tyson Barrie, some smaller but impactful trades like Garland being traded to Vancouver, Velarde being traded away away in a package for Pierre-Luc Dubois, Bo Horvat to the Islanders, Calgary giving up on Sam Bennett, and well, here are the results. These 20 players would have a career average of a 0.25 points per game, which equates to a 66-point pace throughout an 82-game season. However, when these players matched up against their old squad, this number would see a massive jump to 1.27 points per game. And for some perspective, this is a 104-point pace throughout an 82-game season, as this massive increase is way too strong of a correlation to be considered a coincidence. In fact, from this list, every single player saw an uptick in scoring aside from Martin Necas, as this right here is why teams go to any means possible to trade their star outside their division, if not conference. But here's the thing, yes, a player can go to another level in terms of scoring, which can single-handedly win a game, but unless you're a guy like Connor McDavid, taking over an entire playoff series is a completely different story. But do you know who can take over a series? A goalie, as trading away a goalie within the conference has always been seen as taboo, which again, does make sense from face value, but is it actually true? After being arguably the most important piece during the Canucks' run in 2024, taking the Edmonton Oilers to Game 7, Silovs would follow up the season with an unbelievable AHL performance, as he would lead the Abbotsford Canucks to a championship on top of claiming the playoff MVP trophy, and at this point, he was one of the top goalie prospects in the world. But the Canucks had a dilemma. Demko has horrible injury history, but for once was back at full health, and as a hedge against the injury, the Canucks would lock in Kevin Lankinen after a great season. Therefore, there was no roster spot, where they would then ship Silovs to the Penguins for a 4th-round pick, where
loose puck comes down low, backhander is turned aside by Sheilov. Out by Carlson, the wraparound is stopped by Sheilovs. His wrist shot there, and another save by the goaltender from that team, and the MVP of that run.
And what is by far the most bizarre example about a team trading away a star goalie was the Antoine Khudobin saga. As a rookie, he'd get called up by the Wild, and within his 2 games only allowed 1 goal, posting a .979 save percentage, which is unbelievable for a rookie goalie. Has to be some kind of record. He would win both games and get sent down. He then got called up the next season, posted another shutout, and had a .942 save percentage in his first 4 games, only to get sent down and traded away. He would then go to Boston and posted, I'm not even joking, a .978 save percentage, where, you might have guessed it, he'd be traded away. One of the most bizarre starts to a career I have ever seen. Like seriously, this man would lead the entire league in save percentage in 2020 and somehow didn't get a single Vezina vote? What is going on? Where of course he would get his revenge many times throughout his career.
Nugent Hopkins delays to the slot, tripped up. What a save! It went to McDavid, and somehow handoff. Nice move and a shot by Svechnikov. Then a rebound and sprawling out. Teravainen was robbed by Khudobin.
Because when it comes to goalies, especially in recent years where goal scoring has gone up, if you're above a .900 save percentage, you're considered a solid goalie, a good backup who can win some games. If you're above a .910 save percentage, you're considered to be a very good goalie. Above a .920, you're considered to be a top goalie in the game. And well, on this graphic, we have 11 of the biggest trades indoor goaltender movement of the last 2 decades. Luongo, Tuukka Rask, Sergei Bobrovsky, some of the greatest goalies of all time, as these goalies throughout their career would average a .914 save percentage and a 2.53 goals against average. Very respectable numbers. However, when these goalies faced off against their original teams, this number would skyrocket to a .939 save percentage and a 1.75 goals against average. If these were sustained numbers throughout a season, this would be considered the greatest season of all time by a goalie. So after running the numbers, without a doubt in my mind, does trading away a star player result in them lighting you up and or shutting you down? Because what's so fascinating about this topic is that the future direction of the NHL, more specifically the increased salary cap, the fact that max contract lengths are going to be eventually reduced to 6 years and probably 5 after that, is that we're going to see a ton of player movement. Think about the optics here. Just the announcement of the upcoming salary cap increase would domino into 4 100-point scorers being traded within a single season. As in the past, this would happen maybe once every 3 to 5 years. So on one hand, your team may just get lit up by the star player they shipped away. But on the other hand, we are bound to see some dramatic, chaotic playoff hockey. I'd really appreciate a like on this video. A big shout out to SeatGeek for sponsoring today's video. And as always, thanks for watching.